Dobrý den, vítejte ve speciálním Prostoru X, jsme na konferenci Shifts a se mnou je tu můj velmi vzácný host, ex-ministryně zahraničí Izraele Tzipi Livni. Welcome to Prostor X podcast. We are on Shifts conference in Prague and my special guest is Tzipi Livni, former foreign minister of Israel. Welcome and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to ask you about the recent development in Israel and in Middle East, and specifically, what is the atmosphere in Israel right now after what's happening in the last weeks?
The atmosphere in Israel is better now. I mean, we are still having a war and being under attack from different fronts, all led by Iran for sure. But I believe that the last military success against Hezbollah and against Hamas changed a bit the atmosphere. Israelis are more hopeful now. And I hope that Israel regain deterrence against our enemies as well.
In your speech at the conference, you talked about what could or should happen as the day after, and that this situation, once the war ends or how the escalation, could lead to an opportunity to create something new, to get back to the peace negotiations. What you think that should be the form of this? How could this look like?
At first, it's clear that when we are looking also on the Palestinian side and in Lebanon, those that attack Israel are representing religious jihadist ideology. There is no hope for peace with them. We need to act militarily against them. They are all the proxies of Iran this way or the other. And there is no place for them in the region. And I hope that this is the understanding of the international community as well. And I would like to use this opportunity to share our gratitude to the Czechs for their position in supporting Israel's security. Now, I do believe that this should turn into an opportunity to change the realities on the ground for the long run. So military can change the reality in short terms. But we need to think how to make a big change. And in order to do so, we need to work with the US, with other regional stakeholders, including the Emirates and Egypt and Jordan and Qatar, and with some Palestinians that are representing legitimate Palestinian cause, which is not Hamas, it's the Palestinian Authority. It's too weak. I'm not speaking about, throwing the key to the other side of the border, but about a process that will take time, will be in stages, with the Palestinian Authority, with the regional stakeholders, and with the US. But it will take time. And I'm representing my own views. The Israeli government has different views. Yes.
Also, a while ago, you also said that in this process that you talk about, part of this process should not be reoccupying Gaza, but that's actually what some of the Israeli politicians talk about, even about rebuilding settlements in Gaza. Why do you think that it's important not to do this and not to reoccupy Gaza?
Because, listen, it would be a huge mistake. We've been there, done that. We decided to end the occupation in Gaza. We dismantled the settlements. We took out our forces. And what you represent now is really maybe the biggest debate in Israel and division between different parts of Israel's society and also politicians. When I believe in Israel as a Jewish democratic state and the need to keep a Jewish majority, and hopefully to reach an understanding with the Palestinians of two states for two peoples, which is the just solution. On the other hand, on the other side, and especially in the current Israeli government, are those that are focusing on the rights of the Jewish people on the entire land. I believe that we have the rights, but it's more important to think how we can live and create a better
along
future.
Along with Palestinians
exactly.
and Palestinian state.
Not together in the same state, but in 2 different states. And therefore, reoccupying, taking care of 2 million Palestinians, of their welfare, education, health, I mean, it cannot continue forever, this kind of occupation, because at the end of the road, it will take us to a one-state reality, not solution, reality. And one-state reality means Palestinian majority.
Yes.
And this is something which is completely not acceptable.
If you say that occupation of Gaza is not solution for Gaza, we could also move to West Bank, to the situation of West Bank, because some international authorities, as for example recently ICJ said that the entire occupation of West Bank is a violation of international law and it should end. So how do you see future of this second, let's say, part of the conflict?
The difference is Israel already left Gaza Strip. And therefore it's clear that if we are deciding it's about not ending but reoccupying. We've been there, done that. We decided it doesn't serve the interest of Israel. Unfortunately, Hamas exploited it and turned a place that could be now new Singapore in the region into a terror hub. The situation in the West Bank is more complicated in terms of not only Israel's security, but we didn't reach an agreement with the Palestinians. We tried to do so. I was the peace negotiator in the last 2 rounds of negotiators, and they were 2 just resolutions by the US that the Palestinians didn't, they should have grabbed it, but didn't even give a positive answer. So in the future, we need to deal with the situation in the West Bank, how it can be part of Palestinian state without risking Israel, what to do with settlements and Israelis that are living there. It's very complicated, but it's needed. But now let's focus on Gaza. And about the international law, Israel is a democracy bound by the international law. And during all these years, we kept the situation in the West Bank because of our security needs. The army is in charge on the West Bank, not the Israeli government. From international law, I don't want to enter into all these details, but it's a difference. So I know that Israel is blamed for violating the international law, but Israel is acting in accordance in a very difficult situation. And as I said also in the conference, I criticize my own government for its policy, but I would defend Israel for its right to defend itself against terror.
At the same time, if we take this into, let's say, a wider context of the, let's say, international position of Israel, some say that the way how the operation in Gaza is going on and the range of destruction of the place is something what harms Israel's position internationally. When we see the recent UN resolutions, the ICJ and ICC rulings, and for example the fact that some European countries recently recognized Palestinian state. I think it was Spain and Norway recently.
Yes.
So what do you think about this argument that actually what the Israeli response is actually harming Israel in some other aspects?
On October 8th, we didn't have any choice. What happened to Israel is, by the way, I knew some of those Israelis that were massacred the same day. Now, one of my friends was the mayor of the municipality near the border, and he was speaking with me about creating a joint venture with the people in Gaza on the border, and others were really peace supporters. But the day after, we had no other alternative but to act in Gaza. And in fact, these terrorists are abusing the situation, are using the Palestinians. When the Israeli army called the Palestinians to leave their places because we are going to act there militarily, Hamas called them to stay. Because just imagine all these people in Gaza that died and were killed, And Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, this arch-terrorist, is sitting elsewhere.
In Qatar
and
or other places.
And maybe in a tunnel, I truly don't care, but he can stop it by releasing the hostages, by just renounce all this violence, and he's not willing to do so. And these terrorists, they are not freedom fighters. I would like to remind you also part of history, because Israel left Gaza Strip, and the entire international community said that Gaza can be completely free, open to the world, with airport, with seaport, if Hamas would accept the demands, renounce violence and terrorism. And therefore, without any alternative, we needed to do that. Now, in the past, we tried to avoid boots on the ground in Gaza. We reached understandings and agreement. I was there twice. After 2 operations that we decided to stop, hoping that we gain deterrence, that it will take, and nothing helped. So this was the last option, and the Israeli army is trying to avoid civil casualties, but this is happening. And I am not underestimating the grief and the sorrow of Palestinian families for losing their loved ones, as long as these are not terrorists. But blaming Israel for genocide, this is completely unacceptable. When we are trying to avoid civil casualties, they are targeting civilians deliberately. And you will not compare, no moral comparison and no legal comparison between somebody who killed somebody by mistake and somebody that is murdering somebody else. So yes, I know that we are losing in the international community. The image of Israel was harmed, but and in a really unacceptable manner also we see now anti-Semitism that is rising, and criticizing Israel's policy is one thing, but undermining the right of Israel to exist, to defend itself is completely different.
Do you think that the moral comparison that you talked about is some interpretation that is dominating in the international field?
Unfortunately, yes, because I think that, especially I'm not speaking about leaders. Okay, leaders understand better than the public usually. Okay, let's hope so. And I would like to use this opportunity to share my respect to the Czech position that supports Israel's right to defend itself. Those that are supporting the Palestinians, you mentioned two or three countries that decided to support the idea of a Palestinian state. Okay. They shouldn't support Hamas. Those in the international community supporting 2 states for 2 peoples cannot and shouldn't support Hamas, not only because it's immoral, not only because they use terror, because they are completely against the idea of 2 states for 2 peoples. They are not fighting for the creation of a Palestinian state. They are against the existence of Israel. This is true for Iran, for Hezbollah, for Hamas, for the Houthis in Yemen. And therefore, and when the people in the streets are calling of free Palestine from the river to the sea, they don't understand that supporting Hamas means that this comes on the expense of my existence, okay, in Israel, and the existence of Israel as a country. And therefore, I believe that we lost a shared ground of understanding, and therefore Israel is unjust, is being unjustful in an unjustful manner. But yet, I have criticism on my own government about the policy. I believe that they should initiate cooperation with the Palestinian Authority, which is not Hamas, change realities on the ground. But what is happening around the world is against Israel, not for a Palestinian state.
Mm-hmm. And what would be for a Palestinian state or for any stable solution of the conflict? How should the world react in your viewpoint?
Okay, I've tried to do it twice. I was the chief negotiator for peace on behalf of Israel in the last 2 rounds of negotiations in 2008 and 2014. The Americans put papers, and in 2008 also Israel put agreements that represent the Palestinian cause, speaking about the demilitarized Palestinian state, they agreed to, and it gives us also some security answers, but they didn't give an answer. And therefore, the ideas are there. It's not easy to implement, especially now. But for sure, if there is any hope for peace, it's without Hamas. That's for sure.
Yeah, even though you say that the Palestinian answer was negative back then.
No, I want to be accurate. They didn't give a positive answer. They didn't say no, they didn't say yes, but that's the situation.
But anyway, you still say that the two-state solution is the only solution which is in the interest of Israel.
Okay,
so why is it in the interest of Israel?
Okay. If somebody would put on the table another solution that keeps Israel as a Jewish democratic state, living or a secure Jewish democratic state, that's fine with me. I mean, my vision is not about creating a Palestinian state. My vision is about keeping Israel as a Jewish democratic secure state. The idea of 2 states for 2 peoples gives an answer to legitimate national aspiration of the Jewish people in Israel and of the Palestinians in a future Palestinian state. It's becoming more and more difficult to solve this issue or to implement this vision into a real agreement and changes on the ground. I'm not turning a blind eye to this situation, but frankly, I don't have another viable solution. And the other solution is not a solution, is a reality of 1 state between Jordan River and Mediterranean Sea, with Israelis and Palestinians living in a violent atmosphere. And I believe that this is the worst case scenario.
The scenario that's reality, let's say, in the last years is simply continuing of occupation in some form, and it looks like this is something what the current administration of Israel is willing to keep. I wouldn't say forever, but for longer time.
Correct.
Yeah. So you think that that's a mistake?
Yes. Yes, that's my criticism, my basic criticism on the Israeli government. I understand, respect, and fight for Israel's security needs, and represent it in any peace negotiations. But the idea of annexing territories with Palestinians living there would, as I said before, it would lead to an ongoing, unsolvable religion, and it can turn the conflict from a national solvable conflict into a religious unsolvable conflict.
If we focus a little bit more on your, let's say, personal experiences from the negotiations, what do you feel that was the main problem or the main issue? I don't mean specifically like refugees or Jerusalem or whatever, but simply what comes to your mind when I ask about negotiations and issues, problems?
I've tried to find out why Abu Mazen, the leader of the Palestinians, didn't give an answer. And I went to meet him. I was Minister of Justice at the time. Netanyahu was the Prime Minister. He didn't permit me to go to have this meeting, but I said I need to understand why. And I went to one of the European countries. I've met Abu Mazen, and frankly, I didn't get a real answer. I had some excuses here and there. And therefore, I truly don't know. And I believe that there's a need for leaders on both sides who understand that the price of not having an agreement to their people is higher than the political price that they will pay by making an agreement. And for now, unfortunately, I don't see leadership that is willing to make the decision on both sides.
On any of the sides, you don't see this kind of leadership.
Not the current Israeli government, nor the Palestinians.
We can see from the polls that the support for two-state solution is decreasing throughout the last 30 years, let's say, since the Oslo Accords. What do you think that is the reason for that on the Israeli side?
Well, especially after October 7th, I hear Israelis saying to me, you supported the disengagement from Gaza, we left this place, and Hamas took over, so we cannot afford this. Mostly it's about security. I believe that only a minority in Israel ideologically is not willing to reach a peace treaty because of the rights on the land, which is their priorities. I believe that most of the Israelis would be more than willing to support an agreement as long as they will be convinced that it gives them security for them and for their children. And this is something that needs to be tested, that needs to be taken care of during the negotiations.
What do you think that we can expect in the following weeks, months, or years in the conflict right now?
There are two different possibilities. One is that we will enter a ceasefire without changes on the ground. In Gaza with Hamas, in Lebanon with Hezbollah, and we'll get some years of hopefully quiet years, but it will not change dramatically the geopolitics in the region. The other option is to work with regional stakeholders, with the US, hopefully with Saudis, to replace Hamas, to change the position of Hezbollah in Lebanon, to re-energize, not negotiations for peace right now, but to enable the PA, to strengthen the PA, the Palestinian Authority, and to enable them to replace Hamas in Gaza with the help and support of regional players. This is the other option. I believe that this is the right option, but frankly, I think that more, if you ask me what to expect, I think that Hamas and Hezbollah are very weak right now, and I hope that they will be replaced instead of giving them time during the ceasefire to rearm themselves.
When you talk about replacing Hamas, what comes to my mind is an argument that sometimes people say in the last year that actually any other authority that will be moderate in Gaza will have, let's say, hard time to get support after the war and after the radicalization of the society that we see there. But you still think it's possible to establish some authority that will gain support in Gaza?
Not alone. They are too weak. They are too weak, and the situation needs we need to concentrate in bringing also other players, support by the Arabs, by the Emirates, hopefully the Saudis. I'm not speaking about giving them the keys and say good luck. We cannot afford this, and therefore it should be in stages with other players, and it will take time.
In one interview, I remember that you said that United States should orchestrate this process.
Yes. Yeah.
And now, in just less than a month, we will see elections in United States. What do you think that can be an impact of each of the results, if Kamala Harris wins or if Donald Trump wins on the Middle East?
I don't know, but I hope that any administration that will take over and will be in charge would lead this as the only reasonable and hopeful outcome.
Which
Otherwise, listen,
end of the war, peace,
this is not happening right now.
Yes,
I think
I know it's very
yes,
hypothetical, but
I offered this. I put it on the table. I think the first week after the war started, not to stop the war, but to be ready for the day where we can stop the war and enter into this stage. It didn't happen until now, and I think that this is what needs to be done. I truly don't know what will be.
Personally, do you miss politics, or are you glad right now that you don't need to solve all these issues and situations?
I do not miss politics. I know that there are some Israelis saying, "Come on, you have this. It's a virus. You have it in your veins."
Political virus.
I'm not sick. It's fine. I don't have this virus. Politics for me is a platform to promote ideology or vision for my country. And I am very worried. And, I meet Israelis calling me to come back to politics, save Israel. And the real question is whether there's a real possibility for me to make the real change in Israel politics. Without it, I don't want to be in politics. And usually my decisions are, when the right moment comes, I know that it comes. I don't see this happening right now, but never say never. We'll see.
All right. And what would be first thing that you would do now if you would be again in the foreign minister position?
Coordinating and orchestrating this plan. It's so essential. So essential. It's critical for our future. And opportunities do not last forever. And we have this opportunity now, we should grab it. It's very complicated. Frankly, I know how to do it, but I'm not in power.
You think there is a will to take this opportunity or in Israel?
I believe in leadership. I believe in leadership. And if a leader comes and say, this is the right thing to do. And look, the Emirates are here, the Saudis are here, the Egyptians, and we took care of Israel's security, not by trusting the international community, but doing something together. We have the legitimacy to act against terror in the future. This is the real change. I believe that it will be supported. But for now, nobody is speaking about it.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.